Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm your ever-loving Shorty, and yes, it's been a while. I am back, though, and I'm reviewing North Valley Grimoire. It's one that kind of I didn't know enough about, I think, going into it. I didn't know who Blake Northcott was. I didn't know this was based on a book. I think maybe it's even going to get into a movie, which feels very apt. It feels like it's written to be a movie. Also, I was disappointed. I hate to say within the first few pages because I got a vibe of, what if John Constantine was a CIA agent? And he wouldn't be. That's a terrible take. So thankfully, they turned away from that fairly quickly and established him as his own character, far more of a James Bond than anything else. But the disappointment didn't leave straight away because I read fair bits of fantasy, comic books, even some TV stuff, like one of my favourite book series about Rivers of London, and Trece manga and graphic novel series. These all have this idea of somebody who's an agent of the state being in control of magic. And I don't mean in control as in I have control over the mystic arts. I mean they want to control it top down to maintain political and economic primacy for the in-group as opposed to the out-group. Now that's pretty bad anyway, and I like the fact that some of these writers have managed to put nice spins on it, but this one we talk about the CIA. It's very hard to see the CIA as anything other than the bad guys. I mean, yes, I suppose if you just look at movies and comic books even, Christopher Priest's good guy colonizer that got even put into the movies, and how often we see these foreign agents or assets working for the greater good, but what they generally are is just maintaining the status quo. That's not necessarily a good thing, when you're dealing with magic, it tends to, if anything, go a little bit further. It's basically, quite often, when you look at witchcraft as a history of witchcraft, it's this idea of knowledge being in hands of people who shouldn't have it and being punished. So having a typically good-looking masculine guy working with the CIA to stop people having magic, it doesn't sit well with me. Now, thankfully, there's interesting stuff that happens which makes this a far better comic than I thought it was going to be, but I don't want to spoil too much of it because it's a nice twist at the end. What I will talk about is just the comic on its own to start with, and it is really quite cool. It's got a really nice visual style to it. It is frenetic, full of action. There's a rich layering to the colouring. The character designs are all really, really cool. I mean, there's a little bit of, I don't know, maybe YA vibe to some of the fact that it's taking place at a very upscale private school and they're all in uniforms. That feels a little bit like he's aiming for a particular audience, but the artist does a fantastic job with it. And when we get magic, it looks great. It glows. It pops from the page, which is exactly what I want from it. In terms of the story and the writing is good enough. It's kind of fast-paced. We don't have like a lot of time to build into depth of characterization in this first issue, apart from, I say, the tail end of it when we get like a little bit more information. It's mostly just setting up the world, setting up some of the rules of magic, which is always going to be a bit of an issue because you want magic to have like an internally consistent logic to a certain degree. It has to make sense why it's not just this hugely powerful thing which anyone can do and use to take over the world, why it is only available to a select few, and what its limitations are, so it cannot be used to great effect. Otherwise, everyone would know about it, and it wouldn't need to be explained in this way. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about it too much. They keep it quite simple, the fact that magic seems to work in a very old-school D&D way, where effectively it's a lot of effort to learn how to cast spells, and then they're like a one-and-gone kind of thing, and the amount of effort you have to put into it for the actual effect is hardly worth doing it. What you instead have is the guy, our main character, whose name I've totally forgot. Basically, Agent Malik, who has access to mechanical magic. Basically, gives him a very James Bond vibe, as if there's somebody who makes these devices for him, and it gives him a chance to just keep casting spells when he needs to because of the device, rather than actually having to learn it himself. But once that's out of the way, there's not really much else done in the way of world building. They set up some relationships. We have some characters, basically how they talk to each other and what they say gives you some kind of background to who they are, but for the most part it is just moving the story on right now. It's building up to something, but that's fine, no problem whatsoever, but it is also very cinematic, which is, I think, a clear choice in terms of how it's put together and how it's framed. There's a lot of POV shots which look like they would be perfectly framed for movie stills, but if that's your intent, that's fine. I don't think it really takes away from it, though. I think me looking forward that because of my expectations doesn't stop it looking fantastic on the page. And again, the writing, although the plot isn't the most complicated, it is well paced. It does feel like you're constantly being pushed through the story effectively. There's no lingering moments where you have to go back and reread things. There's no wondering what is actually going on. Everything is explained as much as it needs to be. And then we get to the end. And it kind of turns a little bit of what I was thinking on its head, and is enough to make me think, okay, yeah, there's more going on here. There is more depth to it, but I think for the first issue, Blake had to spend a little bit more time just setting things up than I think I would have liked. I wanted a bit more who these people are and what their motivations are, rather than here is the world, here are the people, and here's how they know each other. But it's only issue 1. Certainly promise, and certainly enough reasons to come back and give it more of a shot. That's it for me for now. It is another quiet week, so I don't know if there'll be many more reviews this week, but just keep it out, hit the like, subscribe button, and if there's anything, I'll see you later. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye!